storm we had earlier this week is now finished. We've had a lovely bright day today, and I've been going around the garden and assessing what sorts of damage it's caused. And although it has caused some damage, none of it is irretrievable. And this is a prime example of that. This is the black elder. So it's Sambucus and one called Black Tower. So for those who regularly watch my videos, you'll probably notice this is reduced in size, and it has. The storm caused a massive problem with this one, which I never really expected. So it's quite well protected by the bungalow, as you can see here. But this time the storm came in from a different direction. And what it did was it actually blew it like a sail, and to the base, it actually shook it a little bit and it wobbled it and moved it around. And before it had finished, it created like a little indentation at the base, making it, I thought, unstable. So this morning I've been down there to check it and see just how bad it was. And I was originally going to actually put a stake in there to support it, but I realised that it only actually moves about 2 inches. So it's pointless doing that. I think the biggest problem I've had with it, or that I had with it in the storm, was the size of it. It's all down to the size. It was doing really well. I was really liking it, the size it had got to, but it was pretty much acting like a sail. So this morning, I've had to cut at least half of it down. So you can see now it's very much reduced in size, a lot smaller than it was this morning. And I think that should be enough now to protect it, should there be another storm, which there easily could be in the coming weeks. So hopefully that'll be fine. So as a result of doing that and clipping back and taking it back in and giving it actually a better shape, it's opened up other possibilities. And this is what I'd try to do anyway. I try to change things slightly each time. And I guess I've pretty much treated this like a buddleia, where I've clipped it back in. So it's lost a lot of the growth. And then it's left, what it's done is it's left me with quite a bit of room at the base. And most of that room was being taken up by the spread of the actual shrub. But now that's taken back in, and I fully intend to keep this a little bit more clipped next year and bring it in a bit and keep that shape. So next year it should be easier to keep control of it. Now I've moved bits and bobs. I've moved this euphorbia. Good time to move your plants. We're in October. It's a very good time to move your plants, remember. September, October, even into November. And this one is a euphorbia called Excalibur, and it's in seed at the moment. And it has a wonderful autumn colour. It's not there yet, and I doubt it's going to come into this one now because I've moved it. It's going to upset it, really. But not to worry. And I've also moved the Fatsia japonica, which was actually where the euphorbia is now. And it just gave me that fresh opportunity to reevaluate and just to move 1 or 2 things. So remember, the reason that I do these videos is because I wanted to show you the journey I'm taking up at Grassy Bottom from grass to creating a garden. If you look back on some of my videos, you will see the garden when it was very, very lacking in plants and how things have changed. So I've changed everything, and I wanted to bring you all along on that journey. And for those that are interested, I wanted them to learn 1 or 2 bits of the things that I do and how I would produce a garden. So that's why I do it, and that's why I encourage you to send me a few questions. So was that the only damage we had? No, it wasn't. And as I showed in the last video of the actual storm as it was taking place, we had the Elianthus, both salicifolius and augealis, that one being salicifolius, which is that one there. That one took a lot of damage, and we'll wander down there and we'll have a look and see just what it did. So now we get a better look at what actually caused the problem, and it was this iron ring. I put this iron ring in as a support because this has an annoying habit of actually flopping halfway through the season. And to stop that, I've put this ring in and it supported it beautifully. I wasn't expecting the storm. Just wasn't expecting that storm to come in the way it did. So as the wind's blown, the cause of the problem is that these have been flapping around, and there was a lot of them flapping around, and they've hit the edge of this. And then obviously this offers no resistance whatsoever. It's very solid, and these are fairly flexible, so these bend and they've snapped. And it's as simple as that. In fact, that's another one that snapped. As I've done it, there you go, that one has already been damaged as well. So basically we can show you now, as it hits, folds over, bends and breaks. That's what it does. I'm not going to change that. There's no point. I've got that there because I want to support them during the growing season. And as you can see, it's doing okay with the ones that haven't been damaged. And what I do tend to do is I fold these through the actual grid that we've got here. As you know, I'm growing roses through it, but I'm also growing this through it. And it looks pretty good. So there you go. And that shows you that section. Now we'll just wander up to the next section and show you this one as well. Show you another one that got damaged. This one here, another Elianthus, and this is a lot more of a rugged form called Augialis. Unfortunately, this one suffered a lot more because it's not got as much protection from the wind. The wind tends to whistle down there. In this case, it came from back in that section, and it took a lot of these out. As you can see, there's loads of them I've had to clip out, just damaged. Not worried too much, you know, next year's another year. And again, I won't remove those rings. They serve a good purpose and do the job well and help to support them. The other thing I could do to stop using those is actually clip back halfway through the season, cut them, do sort of a Chelsea chop, and then they should only get half the height and they will support themselves and they'll be fine at that. But I like the rings because they offer something in winter as well. It's quite interesting to see those when there's no plants in them, just sitting there in the garden. And I think I've got two of them. I've got lots more rings that I want to put in, but there's not really any use for them apart from using them as kind of sculptures, as we do with these. And they're just used as sculptures. So we are moving into autumn now, and things are changing. Not changing quick enough for my liking. I like it to get cold really quickly because then that really does encourage the colouring that we are going to get. While we're here, we'll show you this section here. And there's the grass growing. I've given it its first cut today. Sounds a bit crazy, but because it's had all that rainwater on it, it's been a good chance to roll it. And I've done that with the actual lawnmower itself. I've got a roller on my mower, so we've been able to roll it over because it'll do it the world of good, and it will benefit by rolling as well. And it's clipped it slightly, so it's looking different already. So this time next year, that'll be fully in leaf, as you can imagine. So while we're out here, we might as well just take a look at some of the ones that have changed for autumn. This one being a cracking example of it. This one's called Miscanthus sinensis Ghana. A fantastic coloured grass at this time of year. And I will be showing mainly grasses that are changing because not a lot else has changed, to be quite honest. The grasses seem to do it quite well. So this is Miscanthus sinensis Kleinfontaine, and it's got some yellow in that one. I'll try not to name every grass that we come across. It becomes very boring. But these are panicums. And that's a nice one, and that is going yellow, but not as good a yellow as the one behind it. This is Malinia, and this is what they do. They go into this lovely butter yellow. I always describe it as butter yellow. I've got another one down the garden near the floating deck called Windspiel, which isn't at this stage yet, simply because it's in more shade. And because this has had a lot more sun, it's doing it now. And it never lets me down, this one, for autumn colour. And it doesn't look bad through the camera, so hopefully you're seeing what I'm seeing. and that looks great. Here's the Miscanthus sinensis cabaret with its flower heads now. It's doing really well, look at that. That's why I like this one, I love it in fact. And it's a small clumping one. Well, I say small clumping, it is a small one in height. It only makes about 4 to 5, maybe 6 foot at a push in the leaf, and then it sends up these towering seed heads which look great. And it's very late, it's always one of the latest for me. So this is one of the small trees that I can show you changing, and this is Acer aconitifolium. We'll get a bit closer to it just to show you. It has all sorts of different colours going on, and it's going into its lovely autumn colour at the moment. Its only failing is this won't last long on this particular one. It's always the first one to drop everything, drop all its leaves. Comes into colour fairly early, but it tends to be the one that drops them first. So if you keep hostas, you can expect this colour at the moment. Now, a lot of mine have been eaten, so the show isn't going to be as good. But all hostas produce this lovely yellow colour, which looks really nice as the sun starts setting and it gets a little bit darker. So that's doing all right. I'm expecting this Acer to turn anytime soon. There's already signs on it. There's already a deeper leaf here. It's turning. And then there's another one down there that's going to be bright yellow by the time it's finished. And they are relatively young, so as the years go by, hopefully they'll get better and better. So this one is a euonymus, and it's called Euonymus compacta. It's a really nice one, and it has this wonderful red colour at this time of year, and it's going to become sort of a medium-sized shrub, I guess, in time. But at the moment, this one is like a star of the garden. It's a shame it's not a bit bigger at the moment, but it's not where it is. There's the Acer again. It's looking really nice now, and that just gets better and better over the next week and a half. I should say within 2 weeks, they'll drop all the leaves, they'll be gone. I show you this one quite often, and this is another Miscanthus. This one's called Samurai, and it has this leaf colour almost from the beginning when it starts sending them up, and it looks wonderful. Really, really nice. So we are expecting more colour to come in on the shrubs and the trees over time. I've got 1 or 2 trees that are going to show me some fantastic colours. This one actually shows you its bark more than anything, and this is a snake bark maple. It's called Acer Davidii, and this one called Viper. And during winter, these become more pronounced. The colours become more pronounced, and you can see them even better. And then the Aconocloa behind it, that's going to go a bright yellow as well. So that'll look nice. And then what this one does tend to do, once it starts sending out the new branches like this one here, it will be red, more red. In fact, this is a better example of it. So it goes bright red like that, all the new branches, and then eventually over time they turn into these colours. And what I shall do, and what I have been doing, is I've been pruning this, selectively pruning it to give it its shape. Trees don't just turn into shapes naturally. They do, some do, but the majority of trees you'll have, acers included, will want to throw up loads and loads of different branches. It's down to us to thin them out and to make it look nice. And over time, that's going to look cracking. One of the most common Miscanthuses you'll get hold of is this one here, and this is called Miscanthus ferna Austin. And it's already in its oranges and its reds, so that's looking nice. And then the other plants that tend to have a nice colour is the Phalictrums. That's Phalictrum ellen at the back there. It's lost its seed heads. It's been moved here recently, but it always turns that lovely yellow colour. And this Phalictrum Ann is starting to do it now, a bit further behind the other ones, but it's starting. That Eupatorium's still looking great. I just love looking at that at all times of year, especially at this time when it's sending up those lovely seed heads. They look fantastic. It's a real nice structure plant for the garden. This one's called Skinny Mini, my own Skinny Mini. And there are others out there that you can buy that are probably similar, but I've had this one since 2003. 2004 when I took it out as a seedling, and it's continued to do well for me. I just love it. I love looking at that one. So there are some other plants in this border that are going to look good as the autumn colours kick in, but they're not there yet. This is Amsonia, and this one's called Ernst Pagels, and I'll point to it and I'll try and put an arrow there, that one there. And that will go some stunning orangey yellow colours once it turns a bit more. And as a bigger plant, it'll stand out a mile. So sorbus are pretty good trees. Now I'm in chalky soil here and they tend not to favour that. So they are struggling a little bit, albeit they are growing. And this one's called Autumn Spire. And it is beginning to change its leaf colour. Just starting. I don't think it's going to have such a wonderful colour, but the berries are amazing this year. Having said that, it tends to do that every year. It always has these lovely berries. So that's a good one if you want a small tree because it's very compact and upright. And the grasses at this time of year, as you can expect, are the stars of the show, especially miscanthus types. But I must say, this Millennia Les Ponts de Say is absolutely fantastic. The colour doesn't really do it justice through this video or through this camera, but it really is nice, especially when the sun starts hitting it. It kind of glows. It don't kind of glow, it does glow. It's wonderful. Now with all Millennias, I always say to people, if you're an amateur at grasses and you just want to play about with them, get yourself a Millennia because they're so easy to keep and they actually look after themselves as autumn comes, and back end of autumn they will just literally snap down and you'll just come out one day, they'll be all over and you'll just collect all the stalks up and the leaf and throw it away, and then there'll be a little stubby section at the bottom and that'll be next year's leaves waiting to come out. Yeah, it don't look too bad now, that elder. And that is actually how it looked at the beginning of this year, and it grew so well this year that I think that might have been part of its problem. So I think really I was justified to take some of that off. It's not so great from this side. You can see more of it exposed, and the leaves are green at this stage because they have been sort of secluded. They've been covered by the outer branches, so they remain green, whereas the outer ones, especially on the other side, go a deep purpley black. It's more black, but on the purple side of black. Now next year it's going to do fine, but I've got to be wary that it's going to try and send out loads more branches, and I'm going to have to keep on top of those. So this is one of the roses that I always recommend for you to get because it has these wonderful hips. They go more of a orangey red colour. They're not there yet, to be honest. They're a bit longer, and they will be nice, very nice. Some roses just don't produce very good hips at all, but this one does. And I quite like this one, especially in winter. You get that look, and it's practically an evergreen, this one. It does hang on to most of its leaves. That little miscanthus is doing really well to say it's in part shade. Wonderful, I like that one. I've got quite a few of those around the garden. They are quite small, those ones. Well, I guess they're small to medium, and they would look quite nice in most gardens because they're small enough for people to cope with. People really are scared of grasses sometimes, and I don't know why. I do not know why. Oh, look at that grass up there, that Millennia. Stands out a mile. I wish the sun had just sidelight it now, and you'd see how much that would light up like a light bulb. So this eupatorium has now been sorted out as well, and because I've taken off some of the branches off the elder, I've been able to move some of those to the left, which is where they need to be. So they look better, and they give this grass here more of a chance, even though it's not got as tall as it did last year, and that's my fault. Moved it at the wrong time of the year. I had to move it because it's when I was doing the floating deck, so it had to be moved. But I've said before in the past that this produces a nice yellow leaf as well, a very flowing leaf. So as this gets a bit more mature, again, it'll be a stunner, and it is a stunner. And this is Black Tower again. This is one of my cuttings, can you believe? From about, I reckon about best part of 2 years now, coming up, if that, and they're doing really well. That's at 4 foot now, and I have taken off some other branches to keep it more columbular. because sometimes they can send out a branch too far to the left or too far to the right. That's a Nyphophia called Tawny King. That should not be out at this time of year, but it is. We'll forgive it that. So this is a Sorbus. It's going to look good once it gets a bit more mature. It's not going to look great at the minute because it's not mature enough. It needs a bit more height on it, and then it will have these vibrant orange leaves at this time of year. They don't look bad at that colour, to be quite honest. The one thing I do like, though, is the Eupatoriums, when they have this look about them. They have this dark look on the stem, and then the greening of the leaves going into yellow, and then the seed heads. And that's great. So it's a nice one to have, and it's definitely nice coupled up with that euphorbia behind it, which is just the selected one that I removed from the garden many moons ago. It's looking great. So I think we'll end it here with this one. And this is Rus glabra manciniata, that I say is probably better than Typhina, and it has some wonderful colours, and they're starting to come in now, finally. And the whole shrub will do that. So there you go. Little wander around Grassy Bottom to look at some of the damage. And again, I'm assessing again, constantly assessing. Can we make some changes? Will it look good? Will it look bad? Is it doing okay? And it is doing okay in my opinion. Ah, there we go. Look, the sun's out. The sun is shining. Oh, we're not in the best position, are we? Let's move you. Come on, before the sun disappears and takes away the shine off that. In fact, I think we've missed it. Maybe not. So there you go. The sun's side lighting it. There you go. It's lighting up like a light bulb. As soon as that sun hits that Millennia, which is wind sowl, remember, it has that look. Another reason, and a very good reason, to get yourself a grass, and in particular Millennias and Miscanthus. So there you go. I'll talk to you on the next one. Ta-na.